What if a group of people could sit behind computers and nearly steal $1 billion from a country's central bank without ever stepping inside the building? No weapons, no masks, no alarms going off in the middle of the night, just a few lines of code and access to the right system. In February 2016, inside the Bangladesh Central Bank, everything seemed normal. Employees were finishing their shifts, systems were running as usual, and nothing suggested that one of the biggest heists in history was already in motion. But behind the scenes, something had been quietly unfolding for months. Hackers had already infiltrated the bank's internal network. Not by brute force, but patiently, carefully, almost invisibly. They studied how the bank worked, how transactions were approved, how messages were sent through the SWIFT system, the global network that banks use to transfer billions of dollars every day. This wasn't random. This was planned. At some point, malicious software was installed inside the bank's systems. It didn't just give access, it watched everything. Logged keystrokes, observed patterns, learned routines. The attackers weren't just breaking in, they were learning how to become the bank. Then, on a quiet Thursday night, when most employees had gone home, the operation began. Requests started being sent through the SWIFT system. Not small ones. Massive transfers. Tens of millions of dollars at a time. Each one carefully crafted to look legitimate. Proper formatting. Correct authorization codes. Everything exactly how it should be. To any external system, these requests looked completely normal. Money began moving. From the Bangladesh Central Bank's account at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, to accounts in the Philippines and Sri Lanka. Millions, then tens of millions, flowing out. And no one noticed. At least, not at first. By the time the bank reopened after the weekend, something felt off. Confirmation messages were missing. Printers that normally logged transactions weren't working properly. That wasn't an accident. The hackers had disabled systems inside the bank to delay detection. They bought themselves time. And in a heist like this, time is everything. Eventually, the truth began to surface. Unauthorized transactions. Massive amounts of money missing. Panic. The bank immediately contacted the Federal Reserve trying to stop the transfers. Some were successfully blocked, but not all. Out of nearly $1 billion in attempted transfers, 81 million had already gone through. And that's where the real mystery begins. The money didn't just sit in a bank account. It moved. Fast. Transferred into accounts in the Philippines, then funneled into casinos. From there, it was converted into chips, gambled, exchanged, and effectively cleaned. Casinos, at the time, weren't subject to the same strict anti-money laundering rules as banks. It was the perfect loophole. Money went in and came out looking legitimate. Within days, most of the funds had vanished into a complex web of transactions that investigators struggled to follow. It was like chasing smoke. Every lead split into more leads. Every transaction led to another layer. And behind it all, no clear face. Investigators began piecing together clues. The level of sophistication suggested this wasn't just a group of random hackers. This was organized, funded, strategic. Some cybersecurity experts pointed toward a group known as Lazarus, a hacking organization believed to be linked to North Korea. Others argued that while the techniques matched, definitive proof was still missing. And that's part of what makes this case so unsettling. Even with global attention, advanced tracking, and years of investigation, no one has been fully held accountable. Let that sink in. A group of people managed to breach a central bank, manipulate the global financial system, and walk away with tens of millions of dollars. And we still don't know exactly who they are. But maybe the most disturbing part isn't the money. It's how close they came. If not for one small detail, a spelling error in one of the transfer requests, The entire $1 billion might have been approved. One word was misspelled: foundation. That typo triggered suspicion at an intermediary bank and stopped the remaining transfers. A single mistake prevented one of the largest financial thefts in human history. Think about that. Not a security system, not a firewall, not a human decision, a typo. Since then, banks around the world have increased cybersecurity measures, strengthened monitoring systems, and reviewed how international transfers are verified. But the question still remains: if it happened once, could it happen again? Because this wasn't a traditional robbery. There were no fingerprints, no surveillance footage, no getaway cars, just digital traces scattered across the world. Invisible criminals operating in plain sight, and a system that, for a brief moment, they completely controlled. If you want more real heists, cybercrimes, and true stories that sound too unbelievable to be real, subscribe and follow along. Because sometimes, the biggest crimes don't happen in the shadows. They happen right in front of us, and we never even notice.